All right, welcome back. You're with us here on Opening 5. Just take a quick look at what is happening on the Nifty. It's up and it's not up in a way, but up certainly. 8 points higher. 8764 is what the index is doing at this stage. Broader markets are up. Market breadth is looking good. Let's very quickly run through the top gainers on the index. We've not done that for a while. And then we can move on with our next guest on the show. Bharti is the biggest gainer, by the way. I think Bharti was up in the morning. It's up now. Idea has also recovered from the lows. It's not part of the Nifty any longer. Coal India is up 2.5%. Mahindra & Mahindra is up 2.5%. Bajaj is up almost 2%. And you've got IndusInd Bank, which is up about 1.7% at this stage. Z, Lupin, PNB, Tata Motors, BPCL are the others which have got 1% and more in terms of gain. So not really one sector, a bunch of things from across a couple of sectors doing well. 31 up and 19 down. That's a tally on the Nifty. HDFC Limited is the top loser, 2.5% down. That wasn't there down that much earlier on in the morning, but it is now down. GAIL is the second top loser. That's about 1.7%, 1.8% lower. DLF, TCS is down 1.5%. Again, TCS was down 2% yesterday and down another 1.6% now. And Lever is off about 1.5% as well. Mr. R. Ramakrishnan is Vice Chairman, Joint Managing Director and Group CEO with Polycab Group. Mr. Ramakrishnan, thanks very much for joining in. For our viewers, first up, let me say this, that you are an approximately $1 billion revenue company, Polycab Group, and you're in the wires and cables business.
That's right.
Historically, at least, that's what you're doing. You're doing newer things now. Just expand on that a little bit for our viewers, then we can take it from there.
Well, we are a 40-year-old enterprise, first-generation entrepreneur company led by the Jaisinghani family. Started off in a small 200 square feet shop in Lohar Chal, and from there we have come a long way. 5,000 crores in revenues this year, exports to 30 countries, 16 manufacturing locations, 6,000 employees, and a significant transformation happening within the company from being a largely industrial, infrastructure, institutional facing company to also a consumer facing, distribution led, marketing oriented company. So a lot of good things on the cards.
Okay. So historically you've been selling to industries, right?
That's right.
What kind of industries are these? Who are the primary
virtually
customers?
Anything to do with infrastructure, anything to do with the power sector, anything to do with housing. So we have been having electrical wires where we are a market leader, and electrical cables. And electrical cables, anything from Bhabha Atomic Research Center to the metro railways, to power plants, power transmission, power distribution, infrastructure, ports, airports. I mean, Polycab it runs the entire electricity in the country in a sense. We are a dominant leader with about 20% market share in the entire industry.
The organized sector.
And 30% in the organized sector.
30% in the organized
That's
sector.
Right.
Which is the next biggest player in your space?
In our space, we have Havells is a company that we respect. There is Finolex, but Havells and Finolex are a little more on the consumer side in terms of wires and flexibles. And there is KEI Industries, which is a little bit more on the cable side. Fragmented industry, 23,000 crores in terms of turnover, probably 25,000 crores, and with about 5,000 crores, we are at about 20% market share in that in the entire industry.
Okay, I'm just asking you, I mean, Havells, Finolex, these are companies which people who watch the stock market know very closely. You are, in a way, in that sense, low profile. You're not listed, so people don't know that much about you. But in case you were to come to the market, you know, you'd be stacked up against Havells and Finolex in terms of, you know, prices and things like that. They'd be bunched in the same sector. So that's why I wanted to just put that in context for our viewers. Now, let me ask you this. What is, that's a space where, you know, actually in the entire infrastructure space and power equipment, etc., consumer-facing businesses over the last couple of years have done quite well. B2C, for example, right? B2B has done poorly. And that's been true for a host of Havells, for example. Like in cite Voltas, for example, although they do different kinds of work. Thermax, for example, right? I mean, business hasn't been that great in the so-called power equipment space. At what stage are we right now, according to you? Are things going to change, or you know, there is no real visibility on that front?
I think, no, I'm absolutely optimistic. I mean, I must say that with the Modi government in place, I think we have had a very prudent, a very fiscally sound and a pragmatic budget. It's been long-term oriented, commitment to GST, commitment towards power to the states, commitment to the infrastructure sector, the power sector, commitment to make in India. These are all great news for our industry because we straddle every bit of that space. I am particularly optimistic that over the next 9 to say 16 months, there will be a significant and visible changes that we will see on the ground. My outlook for our industry over the next 3 years is probably an 8 to 10% CAGR, and probably going forward it could be 10 to 12% on the industry and infrastructure sector, and it could be 12 to 15% in terms of consumer electricals, which is the business that we have stepped in recently. So apart from the good names that you mentioned, in terms of companies that we'll be compared to in the future, obviously there will be Havels, and there will be Bajaj Electricals, there will be the Crompton Greaves consumer business, Usha, Orient, etc. So interesting times ahead for Polycab.
But right now 100% is B2B, right? Your revenues, all of it is B2B.
I would not say so, because we have a significant portion of our consumer business in the form of electrical wires, which goes into consumers' homes. Now it might go through the B2B in terms of the builder vertical or electrical contractor vertical, but it also goes directly to the consumer, particularly for single dwelling units and for smaller sized double, triple storied structures. So I would say that approximately 20 to 25% of our business even currently is consumer facing. And now having stepped into fans, into LED lighting, into switches with PVC pipes and conduits, and with switchgear and MCBs on the cards, and agri products such as some pumps and certain other products, we will be a company that encompasses both B2B and B2C very strongly.
But B2B, you jumping into the B2C side of the business is more evidence that to viewers that B2B isn't doing that well, right?
Well, I'll be very frank. You will appreciate the infrastructure story is a seasonal story. If you look at what the infrastructure was in the years 2007, 8, 9, it was fantastic. And
but actually that's the problem. It should not be seasonal, right? It should be long-term annuity type of.
I appreciate, but the issue is what's happening in terms of the global trends. What's happening on infrastructure spends, and I think there was certainly a policy paralysis, which is fortunately behind us today. So I'm absolutely bullish. I mean, on this channel, I can tell you, 1.5 years down the line, the darling of the stock markets could be the infrastructure sector.
All right. Will you be part of that sector, by the way, from the listed space?
I know you want to know that, so I have to give you a big broad smile and say keep thinking.
All right, fair enough. We'll leave it at that for now. Thanks very much for joining us, Mr. Ramakrishnan. Great talking to you, and short conversation. But
my pleasure too. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Let's take a quick break here. We're back into just running tight on time and behind schedule. So slip into that very short break. We are right back. More on the markets on the other side.